that's what's done there. There is our pipe in and fixed. We have a load of mail coming in the next couple of days, so it'll be interesting to see. It will work. The only thing was, someone mentioned to me that this might stuff, dust might lay along here, so we'll see. I propped this out here on this side, so it's this level. I'm going to make a wee bit of steel that'll hold it out, but for now I just wanted to see, will this solve our problem? It will keep it away from the compressor, and you have to remember that thing only runs for about a half an hour after the milking machine goes off, and then it's pretty much off for the rest of the day. So once it's not running, it's not drawing in anything. The only other option would be to go up there at the very top and to remove that elbow that's coming out of the top of the tank and bring it around and put it on this side, and just put a plate to blanket off up there. Now that guy up there is already badly rusted. You can't see it with the camera, but it's very badly rusted up at the top, so we will have to change that eventually anyway. That'll mean there'll be one straight pipe going down, and that will definitely solve the problem. I just use these straps here, which are for anchoring down a roof. That's solid, that's not going to move, so I'm happy enough with that. Let's go do something else. Before we go on to the next job, just a real quick tip for you that I was told about, which worked extremely well. If you have your bins close to the back of your house, which ours is very close to the back door of the house, one thing you'll find around this time of year is you'll draw a lot of wasps. And this place does be some days plagued with wasps, and I always be kind of afraid, because if you open the door, they come into the house. But our youngest daughter was out here playing, and they're an aggressive bugger, so they are, the yellow jackets. So I don't like them hanging about. So I got a tip to get rid of them. Now, the bins only have to be emptied and washed here, and it's a perfect time to do it. So just get yourself a spray bottle, some washing up liquid, and peppermint oil, pure peppermint oil. And all you need is a few drops and a few drops of washing up liquid, which helps to stick to the side of the bin so it lasts longer. And then mix it with some warm water, mix the whole thing up, and spray the whole inside of your bin. And wasps hate peppermint oil, and that'll be your problem over. Now, I didn't have peppermint oil, so I used udder cream, putting on the cow's elders. The only drawback is it's kind of milky and stains a bit when you use it, so only put a small amount in it. But that's just how you get rid of wasps at the back door of your house. You have to imagine the only reason they're doing that is because they smell a sweet smell, like a sugary smell, and that's what draws them down in the first place. Peppermint oil will clear them out of it, as well as it would clear the house if you rubbed it on yourself. Alright, so this is what I had to deal with this morning. So this post here just snapped completely off. This is just an ordinary Irish strainer post. I had no ESB poles that day, and I didn't bother getting a concrete one. I regret it now. So that was put in when all this fencing was done about 6 years ago. That's a bit of a pain in the backside now, but anyway, the cows are grazing up here, so I can't take it out now at the minute. I do have a ESB pole sitting there, one of the last pieces of an ESB pole that I have. They last a hell of a long time because they're treated through and through. Once you put a cap on them that the water can't get in from above, and we've had them in 30, 40 years before my time, and they're still standing today without a fidge of a problem with them. So I'm going to have to dig that out. I can't touch it until our cows have this field completely grazed. Alright, so today, if you haven't guessed already, we are going to do, well, probably have from the thumbnail, but we are going to do a wee bit of fencing, but very, very different than the normal style of fencing that we do. I'm looking up at the sky, and this is a rarity. Can't tell you how pleasing it is, because I never thought it would return. And we had so much rain, so much bad weather, it was bloody miserable, and it's been a tough summer for everybody. Now, you might notice I'm wearing a hat. I born actually quite easy. I wasn't always like that. I suppose the hair colour change and the fact that the fields aren't the only thing that could do it a little bit of an overseeding is partially to blame for that. But and I was actually tempted to throw on a pair of shorts, but I'm on camera, and I know Farm Thierry, he does wear shorts a lot, but he has a decent set of pins. I was blessed with these things that, well, let's just put it this way, I'd have to adjust the settings on my camera for the brightness, so I decided I'd leave that one out and not put you through that torture. What I'm at today here is I am putting in a different style of fencing. As you see here, we have a candidate which is laying on the ground here, enjoying baking in the sun, and this is the usual crack that we deal with, completely rotted out posts. Now these posts here divide this paddock into 3 sections, this field into 3 sections, and it allows me to do exactly what you see there, which is strip graze our fields. I strip graze all year round for as long as I can, and this will be quite a familiar sight on most Irish farms. So I've been on YouTube, different forums, places like that, just listen to what people are talking about when it comes to fencing. And one thing that gets mentioned an awful lot is changing from wood to steel. Now, I'm not going to mention the brand that we're using today because this is not a sponsored video. Everything you'll see in today's video is bought 100% by me, just in my local supplier. So hence the reason I'm not going to mention brands. We're just going to refer to steel posts. So I took over the farm here when I was about 21 years of age. Obviously I've always been on the farm, but when I was in agricultural college, I had to go and do a term. It was only 3 months that time. No, it's longer now. But I had to live with a family which wasn't too far away from us, thankfully. A lovely family who treated me really well. And a couple of things straight off the bat was the electric fences. We didn't have any electric fences then. My dad, well, he did have one. It was a battery fence, one of them old grey, what's the name of them? It's got a round battery in it. You could get a grey one and a green one. Somebody comment what the name of them were. Is it Votex or Vortex? Something like that. But anyway, that's what he used. And he used to put up a fence just hedge to hedge and put up a battery fence on that. It took a bit extra of time, but it worked for him. A lot of the time he'd let them into open fields, maybe for 2 or 3 days, a field that was well covered, and let them just eat it out. But this particular farm I worked on strip grazed their fields all the time and had paddock systems laid out like this here just exactly for doing that. I started to learn that we could grow far more grass here at home rather than having 100 cows over in the summertime to the out farm, which I talked about before. I knew we could grow more grass here and we could keep more cows and we could manage things just better. It gave me the motivation to get up my backside and start putting in a paddock system. And over a space of a year, with a lot of posts and a lot of wire, we kind of divided our fields up, run electric fences throughout the entire farm, that we could pull an electric fence anywhere in any field as we pleased. So now that came with a lot of expense, especially when you're running drinkers as well. Having plenty of drinkers is equally as important. I know you're half deaf. Can you hear me? Hey, Hudson. There you are. Hudson's hearing's pretty bad, but as you can see there, everyone else is quite good. That investment was made and straight away we could see the benefits. Straight away. That single job was one of the best things that was ever did on the farm, because it stopped us hunting the cows over to the farm, which meant way less labour. And it also left us that we managed our grass much, much better. We were able to actually increase by 10 cows. And we were able to keep them from going over to the farm, which all in the space of the same amount of land, which is a huge improvement here. One by one now, the posts are all failing. All throughout the farm, and the hedges, in our paddocks, everywhere. We're losing all our posts. So this is our steel post that we got here. And if you look closely at them, it's just like a Y. Not overly heavy, there's not much weight to them. But if you look closely here, they have a spring-loaded latch. Basically, you push a wire against it, it goes back, wire drops down into that slot, it releases, the wire's in there that holds it in place. So you can use that for barbed wire, you can use that for electric wire as well. You will need an insulator, which I'll show you in a minute, for the electric wire. These were mentioned to me by several people, but one farm YouTuber that I watch, really good one, which isn't a million miles away from us, is Canning Farms. I'll put a link up to his video because he's done a lot of work with them, but that is what inspired me to buy these. These are sitting in the shed for the last 3 months, so it's time now to take them out and do something with them. So there's our post in. I'm just going to give you my impression as I do these jobs, but it's very easy to put down. That's a big plus to it. Here is your spring-loaded yoke slough, so if you want to push the wire in like that, there it is. You can do the same with this one down here. Now obviously it's electric wire on a steel post, so you can't have it like that. So that's where this insulator here comes in. You can see there's a little steel rod in there that fits into that slot instead. These are purposely built for this. So we just put a wire on here first, and then we just go, that's it. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to go through the definite pluses first, but then we are going to talk about a couple of little things that may be an issue. So the number one plus for the speed. The speed of putting that insulator on it, very easy thing to do. The second plus is obviously steel, and it's galvanized steel, so it's going to outlast a timber post. I don't think we need to do any science to figure that one out. But another plus to me is you can lift them out, and if you want to pipe the type of this hill here, sometimes it'd be nice to be able to actually come in and pipe it, and the only reason I haven't done that is these posts are permanently in, and the pipes would rub against the posts, and you know what's going to happen, they're going to break. If I want to pipe a field, I can lift up a few, let the pipes in without them dragging and pulling against the post. That's a big plus. To pull one of them posts out, well, it's not going to come out of the ground. No matter what you use, it's going to break, and that's all that's going to happen with it. But I do have my concerns. Long before I even bought any of these, I had a concern, and the concern is right here in front of you. If you see that reel, you see I have that reel tensioned across a nice span there, and there is a fair little bit of tension on that reel. You can see there the way it pulls against the wire. It's actually bending the wire a wee bit. See that? You can see the way it pulls against the post. So I was just wondering to myself, will it take the strain of a reel being on it? That's a thing that's very, very important, because if you can't do that, it's no good to me. So hence the reason I didn't move this fence yet for the night. I'm going to bring it actually down here and hook it on here and pull it at full tension and see what it's like. It's on. We'll put a nice wee bit of tension on. You can see the tape over there is all up, and you can see there it is holding it. There's a wee bit of movement. You see there it is tight, but not on the ground. It's all in the actual post itself. It moves a little bit, so does the wooden post. So that, I think, answers one of my concerns. But there is another one, and that is with this insulator itself. Now at the minute, when the wire is straight, and to me that seems quite secure, but not all fences are straight. And if you're bringing it maybe perhaps along a laneway or something like that, where you have different curvatures on the road, if it's not a high tense wire and you're using more of that strand electric wire, it becomes more of an issue, because it does come off, and I've seen it coming off, and I'll show you that in a wee while. Now, to get around that, I've used a cable tie to go around it to hold it down into place. So recommendation I would have would be design another one of these, make these lugs far higher on both sides, so that when it's strand wire and it can bend, there's no chance of it lifting off. So I think there is room to design another one of these that's meant for the other wire. Now, galvanized is great, yes, couldn't have anything better, but when fertilizer gets near galvanized, it reacts with the galvanized. Even on the yoke that I got for the bottom of the big bags of fertilizer, you know, the yoke that pierces the bottom of the bag, well, the one I have is completely corroded out of it, to a fact that I've taken it apart, I've sanded it all down. I'm going to put a coat of paint on it just to protect it and stop that from happening. I'm going to be in here with fertilizer, putting fertilizer out, and it will fall down around the base of them. So it'll be interesting to see, will that cause a problem or cause them to rust out. I did see in an American fencing group page, I think it was, on Facebook, that a fella bought these, and the first thing he done with them was he painted them. But I haven't heard a huge amount of complaints. I haven't seen any, apart from that fella talking about it, of issues with fertilizer. So hopefully there won't be any issues here. But it is a common known fact that it does react with galvanise. You notice everywhere you go to work, there seems to be an awful lot of it. Jeez, they must have had a vindaloo last night. Right, so a lot of these places I've put a peg. It'd be nice to get my pegs back. So there's a post there that's in about 22 years. The reason I know it's the old one, because it's got the old insulator on it, and they're starting to crack up there too, which could be taken away from the fence a wee bit. But they were the nail-in ones that I had that time, so I know that's the original post. The interesting thing is now, would it take much to break it? No, it doesn't. But funny enough, you'd break the other ones easier. How much do these cost versus what we just pulled out? So if I went up to the co-op and bought one of them pencil posts, it would cost me around about €4, and that's for a 5-foot pencil post, just as you see me pulling out there. You can get imported posts that might cost you a little bit more, but they definitely are worth that extra more, because it's proven that they do last longer. These posts here would have been classed as an Irish tannalized post. Credisol post was something we would have used up until about 2 years ago, until Credisol was banned here in Ireland. But once that treatment went, we went back to a tannalized post, which I don't think much of. I may be wrong. But for the standard Irish post, like just what I'm after pulling out there on today's money, would cost you all in around about €4. So yes, I do have a piece of paper because I have the prices wrote on it. I have a memory like a goldfish. These here cost me €9. So it's more than twice the price, so you can work it on that. I would say the price difference on the day you're buying isn't really justifying the length you're going to have these in, versus having to pull them out maybe 3-4 4 years down the line and pay another €4, maybe even more by that time, for another post to replace it. So when you work it out, if these last the length they're supposed to last, they're probably better value in the long run. The insulators you see here, you have to buy separate, so a packet of 25 of them insulators will cost you €15. The screw-in insulators we use on our timber post, which will cost you 25 for, I think, roughly around €6. That price will vary depending on who you know and shaking hands and all this kind of stuff. I'm just giving you a price of what it costs me locally. And as well, if you're buying in bulk, you might get a good deal on the timber fences. I'm not sure about these. Our 6-foot heavy post is a post I would use for my barbed wiring, and that in a tannalized Irish post is going to cost around $4.70. Can you use them in a hedge? I'm sure you can. On a straight run, I'm sure you can. But I do think you'll need something in the corners. I don't think it will take the tension. It won't, as far as I'd be concerned, of barbed wire being pulled on it. And you know, a lot of hedges are in and out like ours here, so that's another thing you have to consider. But I do plan to use these in hedges. I have done a small bit, but nothing that's a good enough example yet. And I will be doing that. By the way, this is the lad that I bought for driving them down. You don't have to buy a yoke like that for driving them down. Some people are just putting a bit of timber on top, slapping them down with a hammer, or just hitting them with a sledgehammer and driving them down. You can break off the galvanise at the top of it by doing that. And I just didn't want to do that. So another way you could do it is just get a piece of round steel, because that's all that is. If you have laying around the house, and make your own. But I decided I'd buy this one. I nearly gave up in the end trying to buy it because I couldn't find any of them. I searched the country online, not one single place had them in stock. I did eventually manage to find one, and that delivered to the house cost me about €31–32, all postage included, delivered to the house. So I just went ahead and got it, because I know I'm going to be doing a lot of fencing, and I thought, rather than messing about trying to make a cap for it or whatever, or rooting about, save me a bit of time, just get the thing and be done with it. I would like to see something in here, like an insert, would fit right over the Y that's on that when you put it in, perhaps a handle, like a top link handle that you pull in and out on the top of it, that if one of them posts is going in crooked, like it is there now, you can twist it without having to bring an extra wrench or anything. You can just twist it with this and hold that straight the whole time, or add something on it somewhere that can slot in like this into the side of it and lever back and forth that could straighten the post. Have it all in one, because the less tools you have to carry, the better. I run this whole side of this laneway over to where the cows is. I replaced all the posts that run up along this. I'm going to do this side as well, because them posts there, look, your pegs along the side of them, because it's the pegs that's holding the posts up. So they're all rotten, and there's no point in diddling and daddling, replacing here and there. But that post there is very crooked compared to the rest of them. I did that on purpose, of course, just so I could see, can we pull them up as easy as they say. So I done a bit of googling, and there is a tool for especially pulling these up. What I didn't realise was €195. But I did think of something else that might work. Look. Here she comes. Alright, so that wasn't the prettiest way of going about it, but you can understand the concept. What I need to do is get a little chain, just as I have here now, or something a little heavier, and put a hook on the end of the chain and have it that it just fits into that hole there and can fit onto the end of this. Just simple and easy, and that way you're pulling up rather than trying to lever something up, because using a bolt puts a lot of tension on that area of the peg as well, and the bolt will bend. All I need to do is get a hook and have upward force rather than sideward force, and that will work. That'll work and save me €195. I'm been from Cavan, I'm happy with that. I'm going to pull that wire tight now, and that'll be that row done. And then we take our fingers, just like this. That's the other side done now, and the wire is tensioned on both sides. It looks tidy. It's funny though, I'm always a great believer in stuff that motivates you, because I often find I have to motivate myself to do things sometimes, like anybody else. So for instance, these posts here are all about 9 yards apart, but 9 big steps basically is what I take, and I put another post down. But this time for some reason they seem to be further apart, like as if I got an extra 2 steps out of it. So it's amazing what €9 post can do. I was practically skipping before I was done. Right, so I'm just down here now where the well is, and I've took away this fence that used to run down here I've still got some of the poles I have to lift with the front loader. I'm going to leave the pad there. There is gravel underneath that, but it's all grew over with sods and things, typically because we haven't used it. You can see the fence here. Every one of them are broken. But the other night, a couple of our cows got a wee bit dicey and decided they were going to possibly think about crossing the shuck into the neighbour's field. And there was 3 posts here, and all 3 of them are completely in bits. So I lifted them up and I stuck these in. You might have seen them on the video when we were doing the well. You can see the little clips. And actually I'll take one out if I can. Or can I? They're quite tight. Come on, there you are. So that's the barbed wire off. And there is it back on. So it does hold the barbed wire secure and it's fairly firm. I'm going to trim back that hedge and I'm going to pull that wire out completely, and I'm going to do this the whole way down, 2 row the whole way down to the bottom there to the lane. So now here's another place here, and this we're using the strand wire. Now I did mention about the strand wire and the insulators. It's not too bad. You'd worry about it if there was any kind of pull on it, but when you come up to here where our corner is, I had to put a cable tie on because it was coming off all the time and it was hitting again the steel. Now I could have turned it around the other way, but it still come off. At least then when it would come off, it wouldn't be hitting again the steel. Because one disadvantage with steel versus wood is steel will conduct electricity far more than wood will. If the wire comes off one of those pegs and hits that steel, it's going to go straight to the ground. That's going to deaden out your whole fence. Versus wood, which will take a little bit off it, but not an awful pile. Anyway, I'm going to go on. I have a house full of ladies getting ready to go to a disco at the minute, so I've been told to stay out of the house until Mammy comes home. And in fairness, I have no reason to want to go in there. The smell of tan and perfume would knock out a working horse, so I'll be staying out of there. But yeah, the discos, they're happening, and just when I think of that, I must get that digger working because there's a lot of holes to be dug over the next few years, 5 foot deep. But that's another job. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. Thanks very much for watching. I hope that little bit of messing about with the fences helps somebody make a choice if you want to make one. I think they're a good job. They're expensive. The initial cost is very expensive, so if you could do it bit by bit, exactly what I'm going to do, just bit by bit, I think it'll probably justify itself over the long term. But anyway, that's it. Let's go do something else.